Are you sensing that there's starting to be a bidding war for loan officers? You know what it was like back in 2020 and 2021 where companies were offering loan officers 100 basis points, 150 basis points, transition package to come to their company. Sometimes they'd even go to 200 basis points. And sometimes companies would just send a blind letter. They would just, if you fit their criteria based on their market analytics, they would send you a letter saying, hey, based on your production last year, we're willing to pay you $160,000 to move to our company. It was as simple as that. And that might have worked a little bit in the beginning of the boom of the 2020 market into the 2021. But as the market turned and as we started to see volume go from 4.1 trillion to 1.7 trillion, what happened is companies that were using a 12-month trailing basis to come up with their transition package really got stung by those payments and probably did not really recoup those. And from that, then with all that caution and those problems that came about overpaying for loan officers, there hasn't been big transition packages in the past couple of years. Now, if you're a top 50 loan officers, I promise you got a great package. But if you were less than that, you might have got an okay package. And if you were on the bubble, you probably just were offered the opportunity to work on the platform. But today, as companies see volume growing in the future, as interest rates come down and the purchase market picks up and the expected refi market comes into play, they want as many quality loan officers on their platform as possible. So they're starting to offer bigger transition packages. In fact, many of the bigger companies are now offering packages up to 70 basis points. Now, the 70 basis points are mostly paid towards loan officers doing at least $25 million in personal production to get the 70 basis points. But if you were a productive loan officer, and we'll talk about it in a minute, you could get offered up to 40 basis points. And what I'm referring to in some of these statistics I'm about to share with you is today's article in HousingWire by Flavia, Furlan, Nunes. The title of the article is Bidding Wars for Mortgage LOs Heats Up Again. And she outlines this marvelously in this article. And so the growing market is driving lenders to take bigger risk in investing in quality loan officers. The question is, what's the size of the LO market and what's a quality loan officer? So let's use a definition that a quality loan officer, and I would say a practicing loan officer, has to close at least one loan in the past 12 months. Using that qualification, that removes all the bank tellers that may be licensed or registered but don't do loans. That will remove all the licensed LOAs that don't originate files. Like just people that have originated a file in the past year it peaked in 2022 at 288,000, and it's estimated this year that there'll be less than 200,000 by the end of the year. So we've seen a significant reduction, almost a third, in the amount of practicing loan officers. And because that, each loan officer is now more valuable to a company to recruit. But it goes deeper than that, because what Flavia suggests in her article, she's absolutely right. Of that 200,000, there might only be 20 or 30 or 40,000 real productive contributing loan officers, because probably 40,000 of the loan officers are responsible for the vast majority of the transactions. And so loan officer companies want to recruit productive loan officers, those that they have minimum production standards. It might be 2, 3, 4 loans a month, 5 loans a month. And if that's the standard they're going to stick to, then the targeted pool of LOs that they're targeting is smaller and smaller and smaller. And every lender knows who the loan officers are. Every lender subscribes to market intelligence. Every lender, can approach those folks. And so the competition is getting fierce to win those folks over. And so you may be one of those loan officers that are getting these offers at 70 basis points. Now, in 2022, 2023, when you saw it from 2022 to 2023, and you saw your volume drop in half if you were a loan officer, and somebody wanted to pay you 150 basis points on your 12-month trailing average, when you knew looking out your windshield you weren't going to see anything like that for years, that might have been a good financial strategy for you. I don't think it was a good career move, but at the time, some loan officers probably didn't, store enough acorns for the winter, and they probably had mismanaged their income, so they didn't have the proper reserves for the downturn. The downturn was deeper than people thought. It was a little bit more devastating, and so I don't blame the loan officers that took the check. I think many of those loan officers had buyer's remorse later, but it got them over at least a few months period. Well, now flash forward to today, I don't know if we're really that way. Most loan officers should be seeing their incomes grow today, right? It shouldn't be a matter of financial desperation that makes us sign a signing bonus or a transition package. So I wouldn't suggest any loan officer change company just because they're getting offered 40, 50, 60, 70 basis points. If you're going to change companies, it has to be for really good reasons, right? And just understand, most times when there's something wrong with your business, if you're a loan officer, it's probably you. And I mean that in a nice way. I'm not saying you're a problem, but if there's a defect or there's a shortcoming in your business, it's probably something that you can overcome, and it's probably not your company's fault. I always say this is true 4 times out of 5. A loan officer flees their company because things are just going horrible, and they go to the next company and surprise, it doesn't get any better, or only gets better for a short period. And if it gets better, it's only because that loan officer got better or their team got better, right? But there are occasions, especially now, where you may be on a platform that you don't think is going to last through the market, last through these changes. And so you think they're not viable. Well, it might be time to change. Or it might be that you're on a platform that can't invest in the tools you need to be successful. And the technology platform and the MarTech stack and the training, all those type of things. And so you might go, heck, I gotta change platforms to accelerate my career. Those are good reasons to pick a new home. Taking a check is not a good reason, nor is don't be seduced by the nice to have things. I've often seen loan officers leave because they've been seduced by a nice to have shiny object when they lost sight of the most important things. They left the company that was delivering the most important things only to a company that couldn't do that. Right? An example of that is a company that might have a fancy social media program but can't close loans. What's the important thing? It's closing loans, right? And so pay attention to those things. Now, what we're seeing is, the biggest recruiters right now are the top 10 companies. The top 10, the big companies that have big war chests, lots of money, lots of way to monetize production. They might own it from the first click to the final payment, so they monetize it all along the way. They're willing to pay a little bit more. But it's a good article. Let me show you the article really quick. It was a great article by Flávia. Good work. I always enjoy her work. Here is a picture of her article right here. I love the little photo here. It's like making a deal with the devil. She did great work on that. I did a post on LinkedIn today. I highlighted the key points from her article. I also put a link to the article in my LinkedIn post. Check out my LinkedIn post. I will put a link to the article down in the notes below. Don't get seduced by the bidding wars. If you got to leave companies, make sure you're leaving company to go to a better place, not for a check. And there are those circumstances, And one caution to lenders, I don't know if I'd bet on the come line here. Meaning I don't know if I'd bet on if I bring them over, production will come because the market's going to improve and because refis are coming. If it's a quality asset, recruit the quality asset. With that, I hope you got a lot out of this. I enjoyed the article. Thank you for spending some time with me. I hope you have a great day. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks.